Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Yeah. Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial is set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being with us today. Jason is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. I'm Vincent Finelli, broadcasting 2 hours a day, 5 days a week from the Ozarks in Missouri. For now. For now. If you'd like to call us, we'll pay for the call, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. Telephone listen line's up and running, 605-477-3249. It's up 24 hours a day. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Welcome, Rick.
Oh, no wind up. Oh, it's just outside. All for
Yeah. Hey, Rick.
Yeah, I know, man. I wished I knew what was going on.
Well, I was going to ask.
Probably, there's so many things failing now. My website is on again, off again, like someone is arbitrarily sending Morse code that on, get off, not going off, on. What is going on? No webmaster, okay. No tech support, okay. No, I'm abandoned and discarded, and I can't figure it all out. So I can do anything, but it takes time. And what this is, it stopped me writing.
Okay,
and
Rick,
I don't have any time to write anymore. Just trying to fix things that break. My mind,
it's just like that.
My body,
since you mentioned that.
Since I mentioned it.
Yeah, well, here's what I did. For my own amusement, I wanted to see, I've been saying something like this when we introduce a new instructor. For those of you new to the class, there are over 250 of us here at USA Prepares, experts in various areas. All of us are innovators. We're dentists, medical doctors, surgeons, CEOs, broadcasters, researchers, authors, physicists, and we're students rising to become instructor. Over the next few weeks, you'll meet even more of us. None of us is capable of holding down a job, okay? I say something like that. Okay, so for my own amusement, I decided to call the Chinese factory outlet, Walmart, and see what it's like to apply for a job. So I called the gal, I got the control tower, the gal at the control tower, and it's like, what do you want? And I said, well, I'd like to talk to somebody about what do you do to apply for a job? And she said, well, you come into the store and you use the kiosk or you apply online. I said, I don't want to do that. I would like to talk to somebody. Well, we don't do that. You don't do that. I said, well, I don't want to apply via an AI. I'd like to talk to the manager. Can I talk to the store manager? No, I can't do that. You have to apply online. And she said, well, that's what I did. She applied online. And she said, what you do is you pick the field or the area of the store where you would like to be stationed. So, check the box that, fits what you want to do. And I said, well, I can do everything you got. I can fix your microwave communication system. I can fix your computers. I can be the salesperson in the automotive department, selling tires, advising customers on service in the automotive shop you've got there. I can be a customer service representative. I can be your accountant in the back room. I can do every job you've got.
Including yours. You should have said. Yeah, that ought to do it.
Well, and I said, I don't want you to think I'm being braggadocious, but I really believe I can. She said, I think you can. And I said, so what do I do? She said, well, come in the store or you go online. And I said, well, what box do I check? Because I'm interested in all of those boxes. She said, well, check them all. What I'm saying, Rick, is you might want to try that. I mean, if you can find, 30 minutes.
I'll tell you what happened. Yesterday, I did a very important radio interview. In fact, an old friend, Rex Baer, he's a Little League Project. And this is my third time on with him, and he so loved me. I'm booked again for next month, 4 times with Rex Baer. And he gave me a list of words I can't use. You have them for swearing and, curse words or whatever that will get you kicked off the air. Well, Rex has a list that will get him kicked off radio, AI listening. They have, it's a fine tooth comb. You can't use this word because it'll send that flag up. If you use this word, okay, freedom of speech has now been gone because of AIs. It isn't about swear words and GNC's policy anymore. It's gone way, way beyond that.
Well, it's okay. It's not necessarily GCN. The policy is from
GCN
the federal committee.
I know it's old from the 50s. Certain words that Clarabelle with Howdy Doody can't use. Honk, honk, honk.
But I agree with it. I agree with it.
Maybe.
I don't think.
But millennials.
Rick. You and I have been broadcasting for,
long
6,
time,
7, 8 years. Okay.
More and more. Yeah.
Never have I said to you, here is a list of words you can't use. Never have I said that.
Well, no, and Rex didn't do that either. In fact, he's real cool about that. But he said, if we do these words, this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And
he knows because he's been doing a lot of radio, and it's happened to him. It's happening to everyone. And what happens is you get on a list. Now, what is actually happening is that there is a war right now going on that's non-human. It's an AI war, and it's about algorithms. And the particular war that we're in right now has to do with Google and Apple going against the dark web. And the dark web is going against the green web or whatever that is out there. That's another thing. There's a literal war going on where lists are created. If you get your name on that list, and you could be way, way, way down. Alex Jones is at the top, let's say, of that list, and you're way down, maybe 297, whatever. Things happen to you. And that's because they're beta testing on how to make systems fail. Now, this is happening right now. And when I say that, we're talking about taking control of your automobile and causing it to crash. We're talking about getting control of your laundromat, your washer and dryer, and causing it to overflow. We're talking about your computer, and all of a sudden it's running so slow you can't turn it off, you have to hard crash it. We're talking about, the list goes down the line, and most of this has to do with these different war groups that are testing algorithms to cause each other's systems to fail when the timing is right. And so when I told you there's going to be a grid down situation, I mean you can count on it. Now, the bad news is there are systems that take more than a year to close down, like a nuclear power plant. And that's part of where the serious casualties, and I'm using that as a metaphor, that is where the serious casualties are going to happen. And this thing is not even run by humans anymore. This is an AI thing that is gone over the edge and literally out of control. And nobody gets it, and I'm trying to articulate a kind of weapon that none of us have ever even thought about before being used against you because of keywords.
So I
on your
remember,
telephone,
years
on
ago.
your cell phone, in your bedroom at night while you're making love and your phone's listening. It's in every crevice and crack. Let's talk about the Lily D-Wave coming out of your power box, down at the foot of the bed where you plug your light in. I'm saying to you, the thing has gone in on a level of technology that many, including myself, can't even begin to fathom. And it's gone from here to there, and now it's been ramped up. That's why my website is going on again, off again. I get orders and everything works, and now I haven't. Listen, worse, once I get the order, then it gets contaminated as a download, ebook, whatever. And okay, I had, in a 3-day period, the switch got turned on, and I had maybe 60, in 3 days, I had 60 orders for a new book I put up called Healing Yourself, which is a really good book on herbology for $3. And every single one of them was contaminated. That means that when you went to download it, it wouldn't either download right or what you downloaded would not open. We'd go in and fix it. That was 60 of them in 3 days. And it would go back to the old thing again. Have to fix it again. How many hours do you think my tech support and me had to do making certain that after you had paid your $3, I had to make sure you got the product. And so I moved everything over to Dropbox because that was Bluehost. It's like Ed Marvini said, Bluehost. He didn't even know about Bluehost. Bluehost is FYI, anybody out there, Bluehost is compromised. And I'm going to switch to GoDaddy. I'm going to guess it's compromised. Almost every system is compromised now with the war that's going on between different AIs. And that is what is happening this morning.
Okay, hold that thought. Rick, hold that thought for just a second. Bluehost. So I use Bluehost. And for USAPrepares.com.
They are
contaminated.
They are. I can prove that with my email.
Absolutely. And I'm going out on a limb here because they're probably going to attack me for this. But yes, you're right. And here's how I know. I got emails saying we're watching you. We've got a camera. We've got it, and you've got to pay us in Bitcoin. Okay. And those were emails that came to me through the Bluehost account, not through any other account.
Yeah, they say that your email is compromised.
Okay, so here's what happened.
And we turn the camera on and we watch you making love to that girl, or that guy, or whatever, or
the horse,
children. Well, no, I'm not kidding. This is, here's the thing. Even though you haven't, and you have tape over the thing, they try to blackmail you, and the bad news is, when you don't respond, they don't give up. I have one group that has been at me every day for 4.5 years from the Philippines. I don't think they're from the Philippines. I think they're a harassment and part of the war, where I got on a list to be harassed with this pandemic.
Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Website, richardallenmiller.com. That's Richard, A-L-A-N, Miller.com. So, Rick, Bluehost, the web service company, they, years ago, when they were just getting off the ground, they had a really good introductory rate, and you could sign up. I think I signed up for 3 years. It's like $100 for 3 years. All of a sudden, the service got slower and slower and slower, and I'd call them up, and they'd go, well, you need a dedicated server. And so I'd have to upgrade to a dedicated, and you need, and it's all these add-ons. And if you want to protect yourself
Marketing.
Yeah.
Bend over.
Yeah, it looks like the accountants and the marketing team got together for lunch, and they decided, here's what we're going to do.
Here's how we play.
Right. And my account was taken over or sold, and I called the Bluehost, and I talked to one of the guys, and he slipped when I said, You guys did this. You guys let this information out. That's why I'm being attacked. And he admitted, yeah. But he tried to cover it up. So what I'm saying is you're absolutely right. It's Bluehost. I really want as little to do with web presence as possible, and I'm not sure exactly what to do. I'm not selling anything.
How does someone like myself become a writer? Okay, I'm going to make a plea out here. I need a literary agent now. I need one I can trust. I tried Simon and Schuster, and they are robbing me. Now, I can prove it, Simon and Schuster. Now, with that said, I dare them to take me on. I've got physical proof. Now, with that said, I called my publisher and said, "You're using Simon & Schuster to distribute my books." "Yes." "Are you aware that they da-da-da?" I never heard back from my publisher, my original publisher, since 1972. That's Intertraditions, Bayer Publishing, the largest one in the world. And I was their second acquisition, and I'm being raped, pillaged, and destroyed. And that's just 3 titles. I've got other titles. And I'm going to say some things here. I have had enough. I can't even write. Okay, you watch historically what that did for me and what I could do for you. I'm pissed off. And not only that, I'm just in a war zone that's not even run by humans anymore.
Rick, here's the problem. Back around 1980, I was in California, and my car was towed by a company, a towing company. The apartment complex where I was temporarily living decided to call the towing company. They hooked my car on a Sunday night. Monday morning, my car was gone, and I was trying to find my car. And they said, well, it's probably been towed. And, okay, what company? Well, here's the company. So I called them up, and they ran me ragged. And I couldn't find my car. It's in North San Jose, South San Jose, East San Jose. And finally I called the same guy. These were the days of payphones. And I called him and I said, look, I want my car. I'm paraphrasing. I want my car. I can't seem to get from you where my car is. If you don't call me back in the next 2 minutes at this number, I'm going to take the car I'm currently in and I'm going to drive it through your front window. And that's because I knew where he was. But what you're talking about, we don't even know if these people are using their correct names, and we don't know where they are. We can't drive our cars through their front window. And if you talk to CenturyLink, you talk to April or May or June, they're all made-up names.
Welcome to the New World Order.
I don't like it.
And resistance is futile.
Well, okay, somebody told me that. Actually, a bunch of somebodies. And I was talking to a guy I'd never met before, about my age. And he said, yeah, that's the times. We're just going to have to adjust to the times. And I said, no way. I will not adjust to the times. Now, if I were hiring a farmhand, which I would not do, and the guy decided to dye his hair blue, I'd throw his butt off the farm. I wouldn't want to be associated with that. Just for dyeing his hair blue, I will not adjust to the times. I will not lower my standards. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. David in Illinois, welcome. You're on with Rick Miller.
Hey, how you doing? I tell you what, I heard what you were saying, what's happening to you, and I figured that's exactly what they're doing to me to try to stop me from talking or doing anything. I'm getting hit left and right I'm even having to go through the whole insurance approval thing again to prove who I am that I just got done doing. They're overwhelming me, so they think I can't do anything else. I've even had cops show up to my door saying I called for a wellness call while I was on the phone with you guys on hold.
I'm glad you're starting to see through these cracks. Remember, it was Leonard Cohen that said, The only way the light can get in is if something's broken and cracked. There it is.
And,
read it and wait.
And I'll tell you something else, Vince.
David, hold on 1 second. David, we have an instructor by the name of Steve Engel, who's in Kansas. And it was a weekend evening, close to midnight. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't have the details in front of me. But he's been on the air and he said this several times. So he was up and there was a knock on the door. And he looked through the window to see who it was. And he saw it was the cops. He had his .45 in his right hand. So he transfers, it's the cop. Oh, good, it's the cops. Transfers his .45 to his left hand, opens the door with his right hand. The cops see the gun in his hand, yank him out the door, throw him off the landing onto the ground, and beat him up. He takes a detour to the hospital on the way to being arrested, or he was arrested before being booked. So he goes to the hospital and gets patched up because they beat him up. And what did they say? They told him the reason they were there is because someone dialed 911, a wellness check. They said, nobody dialed 911. Well, we got a call. And so they beat him up. And when they saw that he had a gun in his left hand, and he, by the way, he was holding the gun by the muzzle. Okay, he wasn't holding it by the grip. He was holding it to show them that, yeah, he's got it, but he's not going to shoot because you can't pull the trigger from the barrel. You just can't do it with your left hand. And they beat him up. So please continue.
I can comment that on it real quick. Now, here's the thing. When they go, he's going to wind up getting a lawyer that's going to plea bargain the charges down. In the end, they still get a case conviction. They don't care. I've seen it all the time. They stack the charges up. They get something on record that they were, in this way it shows when they argue, they were justified.
Okay, let me put an exclamation point on that. So I went to a convention in the big city, Springfield, Missouri, and I was there with one of our instructors, a doctor, and the police, I was talking to, I knew a lot of people there, and the police came up to me, and there were three of them in front of me. I didn't realize there was one behind me, too, so there's four of these guys, and they said, are you Vincent Finelli? Yeah, what's up? Come with us. Did I do something wrong? Please, come with us. Did you see me do something wrong? Please come with us. Or what? Or you're going to jail. Because somebody called 911. He's here. Finelli's here. Twice that has happened to me. So if you think I'm going to carry a cell phone and say, hey, y'all, you just want to have at it, just track me by my cell phone and this is nuts. This is nuts. And you've heard of swatting where people get killed. Never call 911. Never call 911. How many stories have you heard where the police enter somebody's apartment or house and kill them?
And that's a policy. That's a training and a policy thing. There
was a story, and I'm paraphrasing this. So this guy stabs his mother, kills her, a 30-something-year-old. Gets on the phone, calls 911, he's out of breath. My father just stabbed my mother. And the cops come running.
Was that last night with Tarzan's son?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that article.
He blamed it on his father. The cops come, and the guy, the son who actually killed the mother, gets killed by the cops. And he's trying to pin it on his dad. And that's another thing that maybe we can talk about today. These out-of-control, nutty, beyond stupid millennials, not all of them, but way too many of them, don't know how to behave. Yes.
No. Yeah. He would send me videos of things they got away with in shootings all the time. And it would be disturbing for me to see them, but I always felt I had no choice. So I would try to talk him into after all this time, trying to see that, don't you see what you're doing is wrong? But I'll show you how bad their training and their policies are out of control. He himself and his older guys were terrified to go out and carry their sidearm because they wouldn't get enough time to show their badge when there's a new rookie on the street. They were even scared.
Wait, hang on. David, would you please tell our class, when you say he, who are you talking about? I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can get confused. My father. And just really quick, so people think this isn't just, here or there. I probably spent 3 to 4 total years in school. All the rest of the time I was hidden with badges all the way up from FBI people. I was there watching what they were doing. And then when I finally got away, I only probably was out on my own where he couldn't find me for a year and a half. After that, he kept using federal resources to find out where I was. And now they're showing me pictures, telling me about case files, sharing classified information. Him and his group figured the more they shared with me, if the agency that was looking for me found me, they would never allow me to get on the stand. So that's why. But I figured I had to try to do something, so
I was just called yesterday by a 69-year-old police officer that has asked me to write a screenplay around his book called Once Upon a Time in San Quentin. And I'm meeting with him this week to see his pictures that he took of San Quentin, and we're going to start writing a screenplay that I'm going to give to Hollywood. And this is a local guy that grew up in San Quentin. His father was a prison guard, and then he was. And what he saw, and the way law enforcement was during that period when they finally closed down San Quentin. I used to play tennis and would go to the different prisons to play with inmates because they couldn't find competition enough that was good, and so they would bring people like me in to give inmates the ability to play against someone that knew how to play tennis, so that they had some kind of recreational thing going on. Our prison systems today are broken, and people that go to jail do not come out rehabilitated anymore.
Oh no, that's not what it's for. They're a resource. They're a commodity, I guess you would say.
That is correct. That is correct. And I'm going to make certain that message comes across in the screenplay I'm going to help this man write.
Gentlemen, in Virginia, there was an abandoned textile factory in the town I lived in, and it was abandoned for years. It was a Shaw Carpet, Shaw, S-H-A-W, and all of a sudden, that building became a focal point of discussion. And that's because it was going to be converted into a private prison. 300 inmates, doing the last part of their stretch. Oh, you don't have to worry about these guys because, heck, they only have less than a year to go. They're not gonna jump the fence. They're gonna behave because only less than a year to go. And nobody could figure out exactly what this was all about. Here's what it's about. Private prisons in a carpet factory would give these prisoners jobs. They would be making carpet. This is like worse than China. Taking people, incarcerating them, and then giving them jobs that they will have to do in order, I guess, not to be beaten. So free labor. Or almost free labor. Have you heard of that, David?
Labor. Oh yeah, dirt cheap labor. They hardly pay them anything at all. Mm-hmm. I mean,
they used to make license plates, right? They used to make license plates.
They used to make. Plus, it was people that what I knew about it years ago. There was also somewhat of a volunteer thing. You want to sign up to go work on a road crew to get out, and if your behavior was good enough. And it was an incentive thing there, but now it's all, you're here, if you want this extra goodie or this pack of cigarettes, you have to pay $12 for it or whatever. Or if you want to make a phone call, that's $5 or whatever. I mean, I don't know the exact number. I don't know. I'm just giving you, an example. So how do they do that? they go work it off for pennies of what we're making outside, and they're busting their butt.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
you have any comments for what?
You're not going to save them all. You can't rehabilitate them all.
Okay, I agree. All right. Well, here's something that I wanted to mention, and since you called in, I'd like to talk to both of you about this. So here's an article on the internet. Zero Hedge headline: quote, "School to prison pipeline exposed as 30,000." They use the word kids. I would use the word children. 30,000 kids under age 10 arrested since 2013. So what happens is there might be a scuffle in school, and instead of going to the principal's office and say, "Look, you guys, you're going to be in school suspension. You're going to sit and look at the wall for a day." It's not polite to fight with each other. Now what they do is they call the cops. They call the cops, and these children get arrested. And it's not working so well. And they call these, there's a special term for these officers who are in school. What is it called? Security something officer? That's what they have in schools now? Okay. It's called a school resource officer,
right,
SRO.
Right.
And these guys are, guys with like badges, and they, and if a child gets out of hand, these guys will flop them on the ground, slam them on the ground, slam them on the floor, slam them on the concrete, slam them over the desks. This is what happens. School to jail. That's where we are right now. And I don't know why parents aren't doing something about it. I don't know why parents have abandoned their children from the hours of 7 o'clock in the morning when they get on a bus to 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they get home off the bus. Other than that, they've walked away from their children. I don't know why they're not storming the schools and carrying out the principals and the superintendents, hands and legs, carrying them out, saying, "You know what? You're not here anymore." I don't know. I don't get it. I'd be livid if it happened to my son or my daughter and they got arrested for, sent to jail for the day or 2 or 3 or a week. Rick mentioned that we're out of control, nothing's working, everything's failing, and I'm paraphrasing, and I totally agree. I'm going to prove it to you. So there's an article on the internet, thefreethoughtproject.com, and I tell you the date, except here it is. Looks like September 23rd, 2019, Orlando, Florida. So a 6-year-old child at an elementary school kicked another child. The cops were called, and the 6-year-old was hauled away in handcuffs, booked, arrested. And the grandmother got a call, come get your child. We are now arresting 6-year-olds. Over 3,000 children under the age of 10, more like 3,500, have been arrested in 2018. This is out of control. So here's a couple comments, and I'd love to hear what David and Rick think. So almost every day I hear a story from someone. I'm not talking about reading a story. I hear a story. Young people screaming at their parents. I'm talking about young adolescents. I'm talking about millennials screaming at their parents, screaming at their mothers. "I hate you." Where's that come from? I see distracted drivers, totally oblivious that they're behind the wheel, texting, talking on the phone. I've read stories about angry customers at a drive-thru, and they go ballistic because the fast food joint is out of chicken. Cops are shooting people in their own homes, the wrong apartments. People are taking selfies and videos and having their friends video them while they lick ice cream at the freezer door of Walmart and then put the ice cream back. You've heard that story. The internet is now a free-for-all. We have a circus called the Democrat primary where insults are hurled. It's okay. I don't ever remember when I was growing up any lack of respect on stage that we now hear. Alleged comedians, F this, F that, they can't deliver without profanity. People leave their shopping carts everywhere. You go to the restroom and you can't stand with your legs far enough apart not to stand in a puddle of pee. The toilets don't get flushed. We have absolutely devolved as a society. It's miserable. I don't want to leave the farm. David, is it like that in Illinois?
Yeah. I for example, I took my wife out last week, and she went to use. We don't like using the public bathrooms at all, but she had to use the bathroom, and they said, "Look, you got to wait." And I'm like, we looked in there. She went in there. She said, "We got to clean it up." And I'm like, I looked down. I'm like, how in the heck, in this day and age, does somebody not know how to use a modern toilet where it's everywhere?
It gets worse. I went to Colonel Sanders, unfortunately, yesterday for a quick lunch. And in order to use their bathroom, you have to be given a code to dial it in so you can get into the thing, because they're just not letting people in and out of a bathroom. You have to ask for the code to dial in now.
Now, here's one better for you. You always ask Vince about people looking down at their phones. They actually have an app in California, had it for a while, to show you where all the human waste is, so you don't. It's updated constantly. So I'm like, this has got to be not serious, but it is. And they had videos where they showed women at a cashier, while they're at a cashier, standing there using the facilities. How did we get to this point?
And that's what I wanted to ask Rick. And I find one common denominator in all of this. Cell phones. There's a cell phone in every bit of this AI, the tracking. The police have them. I see the police driving their police cars on their cell phones. I don't know what they're doing, but they're on their cell phones. Now, I know they have two-way radios. I know that because they have the microphone right at their shoulder. They have two-way radios, but yet they're on, maybe they're talking to their girlfriend.
They carry more than one cell phone.
Mm-hmm. They're on their cell phones while they're driving. People are on their cell phones while they're driving. People are zombies in the store shopping, have no idea what they're doing. They're on their cell phones. And there are people at the urinals. You can hear people in the stalls in the bathroom. You hear these loud explosions, and they're still talking on their phone. Gentlemen, when we come back, would you like to weigh in? Is that the common denominator? I think it is. I think it's the electromagnetic radiation, and there's some hook. There is some hook with cell phones that people just won't put them down, and I think it's going to be the ending technology for our society. Cell phones. Smartphones. I think it's going to kill us. I'd love to hear what you guys think when we come back. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. David in Illinois has joined us, both instructors. Rick, do you think that the cell phone, as I mentioned, I think it's going to take us down because it's making us dumber by the second. We rely on it. We don't remember people's numbers. We don't add, subtract, multiply, divide. We can't find what we're looking for in stores, so we call somebody at home saying, I'm here. What was I supposed to get again? I forget. With all the electromagnetic radiation?
Yeah, for the conveniences, there is a loss. And for the loss, there is a deep loss. Then you add the physics of it works up to a certain place, and then you have to replace it, just like you do your battery or automobile, Mopar. And then, to add insult to the injury, the bandwidths that they're choosing to work have dosimetry. That means LD50 ratios. They're toxic. Then, to add further to that, these bandwidths are affecting other things, our insects like bumblebees. Then, to move to the first and last stage, they've now been taken over by an intelligence that's way beyond us. Let's call it a D-wave, third generation D-wave. And now they're using it to control, manipulate, and contain.
David, your thoughts?
Yeah, they're pretty much making it so these kids are all going to. I mean, they're giving kids at like 2 and 3 years old. They're hooking them up. Sorry about that. They're getting them at 2 and 3 years old, so they're looking at a cell phone like a third hand. So by the time they're in school, they're not even thinking about anything in school. They're doing everything on their cell phone. They want instant gratification without no work, without no output of their own.
All right, how about this? Verizon had a massive outage in major cities within the last 36 hours. So people have been convinced to use these cell phones for payments, for transferring funds, for paying their monthly bills, for all kinds of directions. And students now communicate, and have been for years, with their instructors, with their professors at the university and college level and high school level. They communicate with their teachers via cell phones, smartphones. So pretty much
worse.
If you are at the university level,
it gets worse.
You've got to have one.
And the explosions in California are all, again, about smart meters going unstable just like they did in Paradise. It's the plasma level of heat and all the different fires. And with that, the underground, they're finding that there are cracks in the earth, and it's now got smoke coming in through the drain holes and all the other things. That's because lava. And what's happening is that they are profiling California to give it to China.
Let me share something else with you. This is really concerning. This is tangential. I got this from Joey, and Joey sent it to Norm, and Norm sent it to me. So I got it from Joey and Norm. Preparedness notes. This is Survival Blog. James Leslie Rawls, and another instructor of ours, senior instructor. September 30th, 2019. Today, September 30th, 2019, is B Day, the letter B. Bofang Day. The U.S. sales ban on multi-band Bofang UV-5R handy-talkies, which would be, walkie-talkies, takes effect midnight tonight. It will be illegal to advertise or sell them. It's still legal to operate them, but it'll be illegal to sell or advertise them. Now, so why is that? So I did a little bit of research, and here is an article on hamhijinks.com. FCC orders ban of all Bofangs because too many hams accidentally transmit that awful siren tone on local repeater. Okay, so there's a little button that you can push that sounds off a siren. And it seems like, well, let me read the article. I don't like reading articles, but here it goes. I think I need to do that. Washington, D.C. In a decision that most ham radio operators knew would eventually happen, the Federal Communications Commission has ruled that Bofang radios with the built-in audible siren feature can no longer be sold in the U.S. Most of the handheld radios made by Bofang come with a siren that can easily be activated at the touch of a button. Radio operators have been inundated with the annoying sound at Hamfest Club meetings and on the air. Okay, so because of that, it's claimed that the FCC orders the ban of all Bofang radios that have this feature. Now, I have some of these radios, and I've had them for years. And I got to tell you, Bofang is not the best quality anything. It's marginal at best, but it's a lot of radio in a little package at a low price. Okay, now here's the point. I don't think that that's really the reason. Because if you watch The Walking Dead if you watch Jericho, if you watch any of these video series that deals with what's it going to be like when the grid goes down, the one thing that's lacking in all of them is communications. It's absolutely lacking. So if you want to know what's going to happen, you got to get on your horse, you got to walk, you got to get on a bicycle, or if you have gasoline, you venture out and you go, yo, what's happening over here with you guys? You got the same problem we do? No lights? Yeah, no lights. So that is the single thread that goes through all of these calamities. No communications. So I have a feeling that it's not because of this little button that transmits the siren sound. I think it's because some people don't want us to communicate with others and get our act together in a terrible situation.
Can I make a comment about
I think that's what it is. Please do.
Okay, now, I have a couple radios. I don't have the nicer ones like you do. Mine are just VHF, UHF. I don't have the money to buy the ham ones.
David, these are
I know what these are. I was going to get to that. Right. I know
these are $20.
Right. I checked into these, and I've been trying to get some. Now, all the research that I did into them, it's been quite a while. The government, from what I understood, they were upset because of the wattage and the fact that they were able to access all the other, a lot of others, like your GMH bands and things of that nature, which are still under license. You may not have to pay for them or take a test, but take a test. You still have to pay for the license for those other bands, and they don't want people using and accessing and being able to access those other bands. You have them, so you'll know if that's true or not.
It's a heck of a radio. It's got a lot of capabilities. The capabilities of this radio are only limited by the understanding of how to program them, which is complex in itself.
Right.
It's extremely complex. There's only a couple buttons, and you can push them. But there are a lot of menus, sub-menus, and sub-menus. It is really complicated. And these are a blessing and a curse. If you've got one and it goes haywire, it's really annoying to try to figure out how to get it back to life. But there are ways of you can look up on the internet how to reconfigure back to the factory. You push a series of buttons and you can set it back to its defaults. But and sometimes they go haywire. But it's a lot of radio. It's $20 in its current form. So I'm not going to recommend that people buy them or not buy them. But I'm going to just tell you this. Right now, I think they're going to be more and more difficult. And I watched the price of these darn little things skyrocket 30% in minutes. So I just want to let you know.
Yeah, a lot of people that had them worried they were going to ban them quite a while ago. And every time I tried to get them, they were sold out. But that's when they were $70, $60, $70. So
now they're 20. Down. Well, they were 20. Now they're 30, 33, and 35, and 36. And that's the same radio, unimproved. And, yes?
All the people that I know that I've, my research, they'll have the good radios or the Kenwoods, but they said you can't beat to have these things for a backup emergency. They're just great to have. BAOFENG. Bofang. It's a Chinese radio. And if you hit a button, it'll speak to you in Chinese as well as English. It really will. And that's pretty confusing because right now I don't speak Chinese. Well, if something happens, people they don't realize, they tell people to carry their cell phones. Well, they got the switch to turn the cell phones off. They can knock them down, all of them. And they've already tested it a few times. So then people that can't get their Facebook, they're going to be going and trying to call their therapist next, and then their phones are going to be off too. So what are they?
Rick, what do you think about this? What do you think about the radio situation? Do you have any comments?
So the way Crocodile Dundee put it when he's out in the woods with her showing survival is, well, you can live on it, but I won't need it. I don't have a cell phone. I tried one years ago with AT&T, and everywhere I went, I didn't have uplink coverage because I was going into weird farm communities doing workshops, and I wanted to have a way to communicate. And what I have now is a disposable phone. I have a track phone. I use that for emergencies. I've only had to use it a couple of times. Every year I put a few more miles on it but I don't use them up, and now I've got like 10,000 miles to go. And but that's just to get it renewed for another year kind of thing. I rarely use it because they're toxic. They're all truly toxic. And once you understand that, why would you want to put it up next to your brain?
Well, okay, there have been stories on the internet about people who, let's say a husband and wife, for example. They each have one. She works, he works, and so when they go to bed, they pull out their cell phones. And the last thing that many of them see before they fall asleep is their cell phone. That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. But that's what's happening. And I think, so if you look at students in school, we have Marty Barrett, who's a biology instructor at the college level. She says that she can't stop the students from looking down at their cell phones. She's in a class of about 70, and it's a sloped floor kind of a thing. And so the students are looking down at their cell phones. They don't talk to the person next to them. Heck, when I was in class, that's what I used to do. I used to get in trouble for talking to the people next to me. But now they don't do that. Students don't do that. They look at their phones. And the minute they go to a break, they go to their phones. And during class, they're on their phones. They're texting. That's what's happening. We don't know how to do anything anymore except look at our phones and text. David, anything else you want to say?
No, I got people banging in the dogs. I'm trying to interfere.
All right. Hey, Dave, thanks so much for being with us. Rick, I was thinking about how far we have fallen. And so I decided to look something up. I've been spackling for weeks now, one of the rooms in our house. And after I'm done with this, I've got another room plus odds and ends spackling and painting. And I thought, so how much does it cost to paint a room in a house? So I looked it up. I was stunned at how much it costs. So a 10 by 12 room, between $450 and $800 to paint. I'm not talking about build a room. I'm not talking about sheetrock a room. I'm talking about paint the room. $450 to $800 to paint a room. Then I thought, wow, let's really look at big numbers. How much does it cost to paint a house? So a 2,500 square foot house, is $3,750 to $7,500 to paint the outside of a house. A 4,000 square foot house, which would be a bigger house, $6,000 to $12,000 for paint. That's, paint and labor. Do those seem like crazy numbers to you? They do to me.
So I remember when my dad built my home when I was like 7 years old, and by the age of 10, we finally had walls up between the studs so that we didn't go through, between studs, with wiring and all that. We went through the door, and Dad did paneling, tongue and groove. And I remember how cheap that was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're talking about butterfly, tongue and groove butterfly on one side.
Yeah, tongue and groove it. Yeah, and it's just, I have to say, what's going on today is crazy. I don't know what to do about it because I'm a casualty. I'm being attacked. Okay, while we're on talking, I went to respond to someone's email, and it took me 2 minutes to have to push attach to the point where it finally went in to the document that I wanted to attach it to. It took me 2 minutes. I remember when a computer used to be faster, it's called real time. It moved faster than I could think. That's all gone. That's all gone, not responding. That's a good one, where it goes transparent on you for a minute and then it comes back into real. Mm-hmm. I remember when I would click on an icon and up would come the fact, and I can click on the icon and end up doing 2 email before it finally loads the other document I wanted.
And you're, okay.
That's an old computer. That's, your desktop, that's this, that's that. And yet I look on my computer, and I have a 64-bit, a double thing with, zip-de-doo-dah, and I'm finished. This is BS. I am trying to write, and whenever I try to write, there is a phone call that comes in, nobody's there. It's as if I'm not being monitored, but I'm profiled. And it has it down to the second. And I can't believe how accurate. Okay, now that means I'm coming from a place of wounding, and what I want to do is come from a place of purpose where it can't do that to me. And I'm now come to the conclusion that that is a process, not an end goal. In other words, as algorithms get better, it will be, Simon says you can go halfway to the door. You're never, ever going to get there. You can't do it from here, by definition. And what that ultimately means is that it's about this journey that we're currently enjoying. And that is when Joseph Campbell said, quote, "When you see the kingdom of the Father on earth, the apocalypse has already occurred. It is perpetual in its potential. I've had enough. I'm ready to move on. I'm done with life as we understand it. There is no joy in anything anymore."
It's
and
too
that's
complicated.
Me being inflamed in writing. I was a man on fire, and it's lost.
Too complicated. You want to buy a tube of grease? Well, how old are you? Can you prove your age so you can buy a tube of grease? We reached that years ago. We'll be right back. Dr. Richard Alan Miller's with us, class. If you'd like to buy his books, you can go to his website, richardallenmiller.com, Richard, A-L-A-N, Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R.com. Rick, it's been long said that use it or lose it. So in terms of physique, in terms of muscle tone, etc., use it or lose it. Well, it's also now being said that we are shortening our lives because of excessive brain activity. So nonstop firing of those neurons in our brain is causing our lives to be shorter. So it seems that we actually need to sleep, which is something Norm Shealy's been saying for years, and at least 8 years that we've been on the air together. You got to go to sleep. And I'm thinking that one of the things that people are doing is they are not sleeping because they put their cell phones next to their pillow or on the nightstand if they have one, and it's either being charged or that thing is buzzing and dinging and ringing all night long with their stupid friends that say, "Look at my dog walk backwards." Is that cool or what? Do you like that?
I don't want to even talk about cell phones anymore because they are not convenient. What they are, it's a trade-off. You get this, but you lose that. And what it is that you lose for what you gain, for me, it's not worth it. Now, my computer I write with a computer. I used to remember writing with a typewriter. The Healing Yourself book that just went up on my site was something I wrote back in the 70s for Open Door Clinic and was part of 9/11. That's where it all started. The 9/11 was called the Flying Squad at Survival Center with the Seattle Fire Department. And it basically was a bunch of criminals that were on work release to get out of jail and work and do something for the community. And I was part of that, believe it or not. And it was wonderful. Drug overdose would call me, and I would sit there and try to talk to the person while we got an ambulance out to them. And that's where it all started. And Healing Yourself was written with a typewriter. And the 2 carbon papers that I had are the only record of the original writing of that. Now, I have those, and I copyrighted that way back when. And then I recopyrighted it in 1974 when it was in its second edition. Now, that is my daughter and granddaughter came to visit me this last weekend with my great-grandson. And I'm that old. Can you believe it? And my granddaughter says, "What do you do for cradle cap?" And I went to this old book, and there was the herbal remedy that I had developed from Dr. Shook. Shook wrote 2 books in the 30s on a treatise on herbology and advanced treatise, and it was based on culpepper. And later, when he died, they gave the mantle to Dr. Christopher, who did not know goat turds from pork and beans. We always thought it would be Jerry Barlow, who wrote From the Shepherd's Purse. That's how old and background my knowledge is in herbology. I am the first person in history to write on the chemistry of herbs. And really, nobody's interested in herbs back then. It was, chemistry was other things. And what I did is I wrote a book called The Magical and Ritual Use of Herbs, assigning rituals to them so they became sacraments and could not be put in the Uniform Controlled Substance Act. And that's why pharmaceutical mushrooms and psychedelic mushrooms are not illegal to grow them. They are not illegal to have them on your possession. They are illegal to sell them, and they are illegal to extract from them. And different states try to buff people on that. And now, what I'm writing about is how microdosing with these these psychedelic mushrooms create a look-alike neurotransmitter that dialogues with subtle bodies outside the body and takes placebo from 10% up to 60% because, newsflash, it's about the mind's eye. And if you want to talk about using a cell phone, I'm here as the lead scout telling you they are extremely toxic, and my strongest recommendation is that you immediately turn them off, just like nuclear power plants.
So, Rick, what does the parent do when the teacher says, high schoolers, I'm going to tell you about your homework, your assignments, and things like that for your cell phone. I'm going to text you these messages.
That's missing. And what we did, homeschooling rules now. It used to be public school. Now it's no longer public school. It's homeschooling. That's where you start.
Well, we've done that, class, and all of our children have been homeschooled. And I have to tell you, there is a tremendous difference between a homeschooled child and a public training camp child. And
different.
You can
recognize different. My parents sent me to public school because I was a functioning savant and I needed to learn how to get along.
Mm-hmm.
And so public school back when I went there was workable. But then when I was in second grade, they also required us to learn Latin.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Well, when I was in Virginia and we took our children out of the public training camp, people would say, well, how are your children going to socialize? And I would say, why would I want my children to hang around with a bunch of thugs in class? And so it's changed, Rick, from when you were in public school and when I was in public school as compared to...
it's all changed. That's correct. And that has been done with intent to take over and ruin America.
It used to be that children were seen and not heard. Then we had children who were demanding of their, of possessions. I want you to buy me this, that, and based on the commercials that they saw on TV and the peer pressure in their classes in public school. Now, children have progressed to the point where they melt down. They don't just have a case of the gimmies, they have a meltdown. And, Rick, this is everywhere. It's not isolated to one.
Yeah.
And parents don't know what to do.
The death of America.
Parents don't know what to do.
Our most important natural resource is our children, not the forests.
And we're wasting it. And our children don't understand. And did I ever tell you that I got hauled into the dean's office because I had a contract with our daughter when she was driving back and forth to the university. She started attending the university at age 14, and we would take her back and forth. And then when she was old enough to have a certificate from the state saying that she could operate a vehicle on the road, she would drive back and forth. But in order to she didn't get her own car. Other children, their parents were really nice to them and bought them their own car, a new car. Well, she didn't get that offering from us. She got a chance to use our truck to go back and forth if she signed a contract with me and she adhered to the terms and conditions of that contract. And because she did that, somehow I got called into the Dean of Students' office, and the Dean demanded me to explain why I made our daughter sign a contract in order to use
none of his
the family.
business.
Well, that's what I told him. I said she didn't come with. I said she didn't come with an owner's. She didn't come with an owner's manual. I had to figure this out on the fly. And by the way, she's our daughter. Well, and here's the thing. So in order to use the family car, the windows had to be washed inside once a week. She had to do a walk, and this is what the contract said. She had to walk around the vehicle and look in the windows to see if anybody was in there, when it was parked, and look at the tires and look for leaks and, fluids underneath the vehicle, and just a general walk around before she got in the vehicle. Because if she had a flat tire, the best place to fix it was right where it is, rather than drive down the road and then try to fix it. Okay? And no cell phones. No cell phones. No, she could have, back then she had a cell phone, but no cell phone operational. Cell phone had to be off and in the back seat. The headlights had to be on, because those were the days when if you had an older car or a truck, you actually had to turn your headlights on you'd have to manually engage the headlights. They weren't smart enough to figure out whether you should have your headlights on or not by themselves. You had to actually turn them on and turn them off. And she had to demonstrate that she knew how to service the vehicle herself, change the oil, add refrigerant to the air conditioning system, change the tire. Oh, Dad, I know how to change the tire. Okay, well, show me. Want me to show you? Yeah, I want you to show me. So we'll jack it up right now. And, so before you get to do this, you signed this contract. Now show me how to change the tire. And so we did all those things, and yet I got hauled into the dean's office. And the last item number 21, was you won't buy candy on the way home. Because she was tempted to take a detour, and pull into the Chinese factory outlet and buy a pound of, I don't know, whatever it was that she had on her mind at that time. And I said, no, you can't buy candy if you want to use the car. Now, you don't have to use the car. You don't have to agree to this contract. You just can't use the car if you don't. And so it got me hauled in there, and I was kind of livid. Like, I have to explain this to this dean of students as to what the terms and conditions of our daughter using our car or truck, really? Well, that's what I did. And that document ended up going to our insurance company. And the insurance agent kept it in his file, and he thought it was the neatest thing. And he was passing it around to his customers and clients, saying, hey, parents, you ought to do what Vin Finelli and his wife do. You might want to consider having your child understand how to change the tire, that actually you have to maintain the vehicle. A vehicle came here yesterday. Rick, I was going to talk about this tomorrow, but let me just briefly mention this. This kind of shows how far we've fallen. Vehicle came here yesterday. Relatively new, very expensive truck. I mean, top-of-the-line SUV, as big as an automaker makes one today. I'm not talking about midsize. I'm talking about grande. Huge, very sophisticated, plenty of computer, everything.
Needed a ladder to get in it.
Pretty much. And so our son was checking it out. One of his customers just bought this thing, and said wanted to be serviced, and the change oil light was on. The oil, it holds 5.5 quarts. It's a V6 transverse mounted engine. Transmission is bolted to the engine sideways, and you can't access anything under the hood. I mean, it's really tough. It had 2.5 quarts of oil in it. That's it, period. They just ran it. Nobody checked the oil. And the engine light saying check the oil's on the dashboard. Don't need to look at that. Just ignore that light. So 15,000 miles is our estimation on how far this oil change went. 2.5 quarts in the engine. Holds 5.5. We'll be right back. Class, quick update. Tomorrow, hour number 1, Dr. Margaret will be in from Spain. And hour number 2, I'll be talking about the tips from my unpublished book on how I do things, how we do things at the farm. Probably things that you haven't heard about or might not have considered. So that's hour number 2. Rick, what do you think the big one is? What do you think is going to be the calamity that we face? Do you have something in mind that is number one?
Yes. The correct answer is yes. All of the above. Pandemic, earthquake, blast from the sun, it is all going to happen in the next several years. Yes, all of it.
How about a blast from Yellowstone? How about California?
Okay. So my bunker has infrared, and I saw lava strikes in the Northern Territories and the Trinity Alps last year. My buddy is in, he has tomography at his bunker, and he said last year that he saw lava as far as Ohio from Yellowstone. Now that was last year.
So, Rick,
tracking? Is that the answer you wanted to hear? Yes, all of the above. Yes, it is all going to happen. How could it not?
No, I agree. How could it not? We've got fires, wildfires all over the world.
Oh, yeah. Listen, you want to know about zombie drugs? That was developed in the 80s by the Soviet Union before it was Russia. And it came out of Czechoslovakia. It is a zombie-like virus that is absolutely cores certain parts of the brain. Now, that exists just like it all does. And you watch, what is it? Blacklist. That's a good one. Yeah, watch Blacklist. Or Designated Survivor. Or they all include, pandemic.
Have you watched Blacklist to the point where you found out that Raymond Reddington is an imposter? Did you get to that point?
No, I haven't gotten there yet. I'm just now. I'm in second year, but it's creepy. And when you say creepy, it's hard to watch. I watched NCIS. I loved it. Then we moved up to Ill Minds. What was that called? Deranged Criminal Minds, or whatever it was. And then the writing gets weirder and weirder because it's the imagination is what is reality. Yeah. You can see it in your mind's eye. It's not. That's what makes it true.
Mm-hmm. Robert in Kansas, welcome.
Joseph Campbell. It's archetypal, and right now we are in the middle of it, and we are and must take responsibility for the thoughts we choose to entertain. That is why all saints in history have stressed the importance of training the mind. Meditation.
Robert in Kansas, Vince, welcome. Yeah.
Hey, Vince, thanks for taking my call. Hey, Dr. Miller, I agree with you guys on the cell phones. I just wanted to draw your attention to a speech given by Attorney General William Barr recently at the University of Notre Dame. He talked about the degeneration of society, and he said it was not by chance but intentional. And he talked about things like the media education system, and then he said in a very lawyery type way, he said it's secularism is what it is. It's a lack of God, and then when you bring that to a certain point in a society, you lose morality. You can no longer, you don't know what's right and wrong. You can't call a man or a woman. He talked about abortion, a homosexuality, perversion in general, the transgender agenda, all these things. And he said it's because we've taken that out of our education system, our media, everything. It's gone. And so it's causing depression, violence, drug use. He went on, but it was a great speech, and it was just so good to see such a high-level official, saying these things, about we have problems and we need to fix them. So I just wanted you guys to know about that.
So it's not just Rick Miller and Vin Finelli and the instructors and you, Robert, in Kansas. There's a whole bunch of us seeing the same thing. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely, Vince, and we have our people in our government actually talking about it. So it was just a really great thing, and I just really like hearing that.
Mm-hmm. Rick, any final comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Vincent.
What a mess we are! This is such a mess. Rick, one last question: do you think we're going to survive this, or do you think this is the takedown?
There will be blood. There will be survivors. Mankind is being tested with intent. And I don't know by whom or what. God, gods, aliens, call it black goo, black mold. It's on my property.
Yeah, we're out
I
of time.
don't know.
We're out of time.
It is.
Rick, thank you so much. Robert, thank you.